Well, welcome everybody. This is the third in our 7 basic lessons of pool. On your handout, you can see we went through how to talk a good game and look like you know what you're doing, and then stance and grip. Today is the most important of these lessons. And why is that? Well, because when you come in here and watch people play, the 2 things you see that you really don't want to see have to do with the bridge, and you see shaky bridges. Most often it's like this. And you should be able to have your hand come out like this and have it be solid, which means it's like that or it's like that. So that's the one thing that everybody can do after a fashion. You may not make an elegant, wonderful bridge like that, but you can make an elegant, wonderful bridge like this, or this, or this, or even use a bridge mechanical. We'll cover that. That's the first thing I see when I look around. If you don't have a solid bridge, you're not going to make a solid shot, period. The second thing I see is strokes, or the lack thereof. Wow. Some people, a little tiny stroke. Some people way back from the ball. Some people, boom, like this. Others, it's amazing. Yes, some people actually leave the ground entirely. Okay. And when you're doing all these funny things will happen. And we'd like good things to happen. So let's start off with the basic bridge. There's 2 basic kinds, closed and open. Closed is when your fingers wrap all the way around the cue, and open is when it rests like a sawhorse in the V there. We're going to learn this bridge. You can do the other one if you want, but this one is the one used by a good half of the pros. Some of them use it exclusively. Most of them switch back and forth depending on the occasion, but this is the easy, solid way to do it. I want you to start with that. You want to do something else, fine, but start with this, please. How do you do it? Well, you end up like this, but how do you start? Just put your hand down on the table, rotate it to the right. What you want to do is have this finger coming out to the right. Okay, Paris is comfortable. Then make a TP, raise this knuckle. Okay? Then you put your thumb next to the finger. The finger's out here because you want a solid bridge there. Now, when I do that, right, up, like this, I can go up here and it's hard to make it move very much. It's pretty solid. Some of you will have it down lower. Some of you have it up higher. You can raise it up, down. Now, this is easy to do if your fingers are flexible. All our fingers are not flexible. So, if it's not possible for you to get your fingers like this, and it will be for most of you, there are alternatives. The first one is, can you make a fist? Just put your fist down, move it to the right a little bit, and put your thumb there. Don't have to worry about the fingers going up. Just make a fist and put your thumb there. Now that is actually very solid. You can do great with that. Well, you can't make a fist, some of you. It just doesn't work. So, just put your hand down, however is comfortable, so the knuckles are up a little bit. And you've already got a V shape there that you can use, don't you? Right there. Now that looks pretty funny, but hey, it's solid, and it's a way lot better than this. Okay. Last resort. You can't do any of the above. Somebody took my little bridge. Here it is. When are you allowed to use a bridge? Anytime you want. Do I need a bridge for that shot? No. Can I use one? Sure. I can get there. And that bridge is probably better than you can make with your hand, even if you're a good player. So, if you can't do it any other way, use this. We've got a couple of these that are short. Most of them are long because they're meant for long shots, but you can use it anytime. So if this open bridge is so great, why do people ever use a closed bridge? Well, some people just like the feel of their finger all the way around the cue. And if you're going to hit the ball really hard or with a really lot of English, this keeps the cue stick from rattling as much when you hit the ball hard. The cue will vibrate when it's open like this, and your fingers will dampen the vibration. So you'll normally see pros, when they hit a really hard shot, do this. But the only time you're going to do that is when you break in 8-ball or 9-ball. And there are better ways to do it than this, and I'll show you that. You do it off the rail. Okay, off the rail. What is the best, most stable, wonderful bridge you could possibly have? Well, off this 1,000-pound rail, it's not going anywhere. And if your cue ball is within, say, 3 inches to maybe 10 inches, anywhere in there, you have a wonderful opportunity to just lay your cue on this marvelously solid foundation and shoot. Now, do you shoot the regular way? No. Now you're back to your shaky way. Put it on the table. And all you have to do is keep it moving from moving left and right. So, put a finger on each side. That's all there is to it. You don't generally want to do it like this, because now it's hard to see over your hand. You can't see the front of the cue. So most people, they put their thumb over on this side and stay down low, but that's a refinement. Okay, and then you can take your regular stroke from here. So please don't go like this, and don't go like this. Right on the table, right on the felt. Now, sometimes you get stuck right here. And if you go like this, you're going to only take a tiny little stroke. So in this case, you're going to want to back up and put your hand way as far back as it'll go. And now you're going to use your thumb on one side of the cue. Just rest it there. Lift the cue a little bit so it's sliding along the felt, the cloth. And put a finger on one side, thumb on the other. Now, I can take a stroke that's this long instead of that little tiny one I had before. And it's still very, very solid. You're going to have to hit the ball on the high part of the ball. No way to avoid that. So, hit it straight. Don't hit it on the left or the right. Because if you hit it on the left and the right and high, you'll make the cue ball curve. And you don't want that. So, hit it straight up and down in the middle. And just take your normal stroke and hit it. Sometimes you've got this shot. Well, you can't really, it's hard. So you'll have to get creative and put it on the side and do funny things when it's doing this way. That's for 1 in 100 though. For the other 99, you know how to do it. Most people find it's most difficult to sink this ball because you can't really get your cue on the ball. And so you've got to raise the cue somehow. Your open bridge is very flexible. You've got it here, that's no good. But you could raise your palm up and support yourself on your fingers. You could stick your fingers up like this and get even higher. You could actually spread your fingers like that. Now, I don't expect to see many people doing this, but you can raise up quite a bit. And if none of those get you high enough or you're comfortable with, use your mechanical bridge. When you do this, it's especially important to hit it in the middle because you're coming down at such an angle, the cue ball will just curve like crazy if you don't hit it in the middle. And a nice smooth stroke. Don't hit it hard. Now, I'm going to make that shot. And unless you're as tall as I am, you're going to have a bridge. And how do you use the bridge? Well, there's no rules, but there are some guidelines. The first guideline is that you don't want to have both the bridge and your cue in line with each other like this. Your eye gets confused with these two lines that are almost identical. Better to have it just off to one side, like this. Then there's no confusion. You want to hold this while it's on the table with your hand at a fairly balanced position. Why? So you can pick it up should a ball come toward it after you shoot. If you're holding it here, it's more awkward. And it's on the table to keep it stable. Now here's the tricky part that almost nobody knows. When you line it up, you're not going to go like this. You're going to turn your hand over, put it on top, thumb underneath, elbow up in the air. Now you're going to sight down it just like your rifle, and you're going to go back and forth, about like that. If your elbow's like this, you go back and forth, it goes like this. See the Q-tip? So, get the elbow up, nice and straight. And there's a tendency to lunge when you do this. Nice and smooth right through it. Now, that's not hard to do, but it's not intuitive. So you'll have to have somebody help you a little bit and tell you how you're holding things right. Could you toss me that ball? We've already talked a little bit in the last class about how long your bridge should be from the ball. So remember to get close to the cue ball where your misguided motions back here are minimized, and not back here where they are magnified. Close to the ball. If you want to take a really long bridge, because you don't want to use the mechanical bridge for some reason, and you're way out like this, you cannot take your normal full bridge stroke like this. You just can't control it. So when you're out like that, it's little tiny strokes, and then shoot. You'll be more accurate using the bridge. And it is not unmanly to use the bridge. The bridge is your friend. Okay, that's how to hold the cue. How do we hit it? Let's take the example of a very similar sport, golf. If you see a good pro golfer, does he walk up to the ball and hit it? No, not hardly. First thing he does is he steps back from his shot. He looks at the green, the fairway, and he imagines, what kind of a shot should I make? Where do I want to put the ball? Do I want to fade it? Do I want to hit it high? Should it be a short? What am I going to do? Okay, he thinks, he knows what he's going to do. Then he steps up. Now does he hit it? No. He takes 2 or 3 practice swings. And if you go out there and take your practice swings without knowing what kind of shot you're going to make, you're wasting your time. So have in mind what you're going to do and practice that swing. Then he steps up, takes a couple waggles and hits it. You too, when you step up to your shot, you don't go down and say, how do I want to hit this? Maybe I'll use English. No. It has to be all clear in your mind before you start. So you step back like the golfer. You survey it. Okay, that's the shot I'm going to make. I can see where the cue ball is going to go. I'm going to use a little English off this. I know how I'm going to hit the ball. I know where the cue ball is going to go. Now that I know how to hit it, I'm going to forget about where the cue ball goes, because all my attention is going to be on the object ball. If you make a shot and watch the cue ball, oh, you will miss. Oh, I do it all the time. I want to see where my lead is going to be. I watch the cue ball, and I don't make the shot. So, once you know your shot, pick out your aim point. Now, we'll have the next whole class on aiming, but let me give you the way I do it in 10 seconds. I step, so I'm dead in line with this. I stare at that ball right at the spot I want to hit it. And then I keep that in mind as I come into the shot. I can't do that standing off to the side. And I can't do that like this. Squarely face it and look at it. You see that path, you see that, all that space you've got to go down. So, as you walk into the shot, should you have your cue like this all ready to shoot? Well, some people do that, and that's okay. Most people prefer to keep their arms loose and the cue moving, and so as they come into it, they're moving a little bit all the time. And as they come down on the shot, they're taking a few fairly vigorous strokes to sort of get the arm used to moving smoothly. And then they've come down, they think they're in the right spot, but they stop their practice shots and look, am I aimed correctly? Does it look like it's going to go? No? Then I want to adjust. Beep, wrong. If it doesn't look right, stand up, come down again. If you're down here adjusting, it just seldom works, folks. It's a voice of experience. Stand up and start over again. Only takes a few seconds. All right, I'm down there. I've taken a few practice strokes. I've got my spot. I'm satisfied with the aim. Now I'm going to take 1, 2, 3 practice strokes. You could take 2. You could take 4. I kind of like 3. And the last shot is going to be just like the first 3 practice strokes, the same thing. So you don't want to practice like this. 2, 3, bang. It's nothing like your practice shot, and you just spray it all over the place. So work on getting your stroke all the way back to where you're holding the cue, all the way forward, and at the same speed you're going to hit the ball. You don't want to back off as you hit the ball. Sometimes you're not sure you're going to make the shot, and you kind of feather it a little bit, ease up a little bit to make sure you're not. No, you need to hit it confidently, maybe with even a little acceleration, because when you slow down, you waver, and it's death. Where does the cue tip go after you hit the cue ball? Well, in almost every case, it should only go one place. Here's my cue ball. I'm going to shoot it toward this diamond over here. My cue tip should end up on the table, right on the cloth, about 6 inches in front of the cue ball. That's where it should end up. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It should not end up here, or there, or best yet, in the light bulb. How does that look like? Okay, I'm going to take my 1, 2, 3. Now, if I started off with my cue ball on the spot, it's easy for me to see, is my cue straight from the spot to where I was hitting it? Or did I end up like this? Is my cue a good 6 inches past the spot? Is it on the cloth? Now you will find that you end up like this, or like that. It's because you've never measured it. You've had no feedback. It's a great way to get feedback for yourself. This is one you don't need somebody else for. It's just look at where you end up. Where does the cue tip end up? Now, you've watched the object ball as it went toward the pocket. You did not watch the cue ball where it went. And you know where your cue tip ended up. Where did you end up? Where was your head? Well, your head was right where you left it. Down there. So not only does my Q-tip end up there, my head does not move. And you should be frozen in that position until your ball goes in the pocket, or until at least 4 or 5 seconds go by, unless some ball's coming along and you have to get out of it. But again, all by yourself, you can tell, did I do it right from where the Q-tip ended up and where your head ended up. If it's not where you left it, you made a mistake. And there are a number of ways you can help your friends with this. One is yelling at them. I kind of like to put my Q-tip over their head when they shoot. And when they pop up, they're reminded gently. And in a few cases, put the butt of the cue over their head.
Slower.
If you're a golfer and you're going to go out there and you're going to hit the ball way down the fairway, are you concentrating on hitting the ball? Are you? No. You're concentrating on swinging the club as if the ball wasn't even there. Duffers on the golf course will make a nice smooth practice swing because there's no ball there. Nice smooth. They step up to the ball and they hit the ball. And the swing goes to hell. You're the same way. You want to be having the feeling that you're actually throwing the cue right through the cue ball, dead straight, 6 inches beyond it. So throw it right through it. It's a very positive motion. There's nothing hesitant about it. If you're going to miss the shot, miss it with authority. So there's some do's and don'ts that you can take away from this. Just a minute, Sam. I'll get questions in a minute. The do's, a level cue. You can't have it perfectly level because this gets in the way. You can't get it down like that. But you can get it almost level. And the more level it is, in general, the better off you are. So like this and not like this. The follow through, that's a big do. And staying down and freezing your position. That's the single thing that most intermediate players get wrong, is they can't hold that position. They know they should, but whoop. So if they would like help, you can tell them about it. Some of them don't want help. The don'ts. Cue waving, getting down, and then adjusting your shot while you're down there. Having your final shot be different than your warm-ups, and you stab at the ball. Steering the shot as you hit it, and trying to bend it. I do that, so it's human nature. Try not to do that. And my favorite, leaping. I've seen a guy get his foot up higher than his belt. He shall be nameless. These are the basics of having a steady hand and a smooth stroke. Now, you've seen me demonstrate it. That's nice, but it will not have any impact on your muscle memory if you don't practice it and get the feel of it yourself. And as always, it helps to have somebody with you helping you out. We will have some people here at the tables to guide you, but you can in large part guide yourselves by helping each other. So what shall we practice? Well, my stroke drill is very simple. First one is, where does your Q-tip end up? So you can shoot the ball in the pocket or shoot it at a spot. It doesn't matter where the ball goes. Get down, make a shot, and observe where your Q-tip ended up. And if it's not there, Practice it until you can do that and get the feel of it. Practice it a bunch of times so that that's your normal way of operating. After you do that, get a striped ball so you can see if it's rolling smoothly or rolling straight. And you will want to be shooting the long way, but since it's a little crowded, I'll shoot the short way. What you want to do here is make that good solid shot that you were practicing. Hit the ball straight down to the middle of the table, have it come back to your cue tip. This will test whether you are truly hitting the ball in the middle and whether your stroke is reasonably smooth. And you should have it come right back to your cue tip, which is now in front of the spot. You will find that many of you can do that pretty well, even all the way down and back, if you hit it softly. Why is that? Well, if your cue didn't quite hit the center and it spun a little bit, as it rolls along, the cloth grabs it and it starts to roll straight. When you hit it hard, that doesn't happen. The spin stays there. So first hit it softly, and when you find you can get it to come back to your cue tip, then try to hit it briskly, and you'll see it's harder. So this is a fairly simple thing to do, but it should make a big difference in the way you play. First, getting the cue tip where it belongs, and second, hitting a ball so that it'll come right straight back to you. That's proof to yourself that you have a good stroke. So I hope you'll enjoy that kind of practice. And before we get to that, are there any questions?
The use of chalk.
Your question is about the use of chalk. Okay. The general advice is to chalk your tip before each shot. And the specific advice is to do it the right way. Most of us get a cube of chalk and drill it. And by golly, we create a lot of chalk dust, and we create a nice straight hole in the chalk. And we get lots of chalk right in the center of the Q-tip, where you don't need it. You don't need any chalk in the middle of your Q-tip. The chalk is to prevent the Q-tip from bouncing off the cue when you hit it on the side. The chalk belongs on the side of the cue. So instead of drilling it, take it in your hand and you brush it across the side. Turn the cue. And if you do that, you don't end up with a hole like this. You end up with chalk that looks like this. From doing that all the time. That will use less chalk. It will put it where it's needed. And it's a much better way to do the chalk.
Putting this on there is?
The purpose of putting the chalk on the cue is to prevent the cue tip from bouncing off the cue ball and miscuing, which ruins your shot, to say nothing of your self-confidence.
It was because you get nervous and then gives you something to do.
He thought it was just a nervous habit, and indeed, most players are comfortable doing that. And if the chalk isn't there for some reason, they are a little uncomfortable. They're out of their routine. There's some truth in that. Yes?
Question. When you're shooting, do you look at the cue ball when you're shooting, or at the object ball?
Should I be looking at the cue ball or the object ball when I shoot? The short answer is at the object ball. You've taken your practice strokes. You've got a steady bridge. You don't have to look at the cue ball to know where you're going to hit it. You look at the object ball. We'll get into more of that in the aiming class next time. Yes?
Charlie, when you say you're hitting it in the center of the ball, is it truly the center? Could you just put the cue on one of the balls and show exactly where the center is?
Okay. The center of the ball, where is it exactly? Well, to the best of my knowledge, it's right there. It's equidistant from left and right and top and bottom.
Okay, truly center.
Now, when you're shooting that high shot coming down over something, I said hit it in the middle. I meant left and right, not top and bottom. You can't get down there. All right, all the tables are available. Please scatter about and give a shot at this practice. Thank you very much.